Hi guys, welcome back to Football Heaven 24/7. I'm Jamie. I'm just going to run through the weekend's action, Premier League through to League Two. Obviously, at the weekend on Saturday, just gone yesterday, even there was at once FA Cup semi-final between Premier League Manchester City, who looked like they could win the title now that Arsenal's muffed it up with two games in hand and only 5 points behind Arsenal. So Man City was playing against Sheffield United, who were second in the Championship in the FA Cup semi-final. Manchester City won 3-0 and Mahrez got a hat-trick. So yeah, Manchester City are through to another FA Cup final. Who will join them will be decided today. It's between Manchester United and Brighton. I'm going to go for Brighton to win 3-2 in this game. I think Brighton are doing really well in the league. They've had a really good season. Manchester United got smashed by Sevilla in the quarterfinals of the Europa League the other night, a couple of nights back, 3-0. And I think they're looking a bit ropey at the back, if I'm honest. So that's why I've done 3-2. I think Man United will get some goals if Rashford's playing and Anthony, but I just think Brighton will have too much going forward from. When you look at Brighton's team on paper, you won't believe they're doing as well as they are, but as a team, they play really good football. So yeah, I'm going to go Brighton 3-2 with that one. There's two more games today that I'm going to predict. One is Bournemouth against West Ham. West Ham have quite a good record at Bournemouth, but Bournemouth have won four of the last five games, um, four of the last six even, and I'm going to go for Bournemouth to win this one 3-2 in this game as well. I like the 3-2 scoreline. Also, Newcastle playing up against Tottenham. Newcastle's good run come to an end away at Aston Villa the other week, losing 3-0. But I fancy them to get back on track again against Tottenham today at home, and I'm going to go for 3-1 to Newcastle. So that's my prediction for the two Prem games. But if we're going through the review of the Premier League, the games that have already been played this weekend, Brentford drew 1-1 with Aston Villa. Crystal Palace drew 0-0 with Everton. Fulham beat Leeds United 2-1. Leicester City won 2-1 against Wolves to push themselves outside of the relegation zone and drop Everton back into it with Forest and Southampton. Liverpool won 3-2 against Forest. Forest came back from being twice behind in the game. They were 2-2 at one point, but literally that only lasted for 3 minutes as Mohamed Salah got the deciding winner to make it 3-2 Liverpool. Absolutely crazy game on Friday night. Arsenal were 3-1 down to Southampton, bottom of the table Southampton. Obviously, it looked like three easy points for Arsenal coming into this game, but they were made to work for it, and only two goals in the last 2 minutes of the game gave Arsenal a point to make the game finish 3-3. So that's what happened in the Premier League. The table at the moment, because Manchester City obviously were playing in the FA Cup semi-final this weekend, Arsenal have played two games more, but they're 5 points clear. But Manchester City, obviously, if they win those two games in hand, one of those games in hand is against Arsenal in the week, and another one is against West Ham, I believe, at home. If they win those two games in hand, then they would go a point above Arsenal having played the same two games. So it's a big if. Man City might muff it up, but the way Man City are playing at the moment, I don't fancy them to lose it. I think that if they do win the league, it will be by just a few points over Arsenal. Arsenal are starting to falter at the wrong time. That's three draws on the bounce now, and it's looking really bad for Arsenal. Although even if they finish second, they've had a fantastic season. Their fans should be really happy with that. The Champions League, they're back in it for the first time in a few seasons. So I think they've had a really good season. So that's what's happening in the Prem. Arsenal still top, Man City second, Man United in third, and Newcastle in fourth. Down the bottom end, Everton in the relegation zone, Forest and Southampton. There is literally only Leicester and Leeds just above the relegation zone, but there's literally from Leeds, who are in 16th, down to the relegation zone. There's only a point in it, so really, really tight down the bottom. I think it's going to be a three-horse race between, well, four-horse race possibly between Leeds, Leicester, Everton, and Forest to see who stays up out of the four of those. I think West Ham will just have enough, and Bournemouth will, but especially, well, depending on the results today, if West Ham or Bournemouth win today, that will take them even further away from that bottom five, and that'll probably most likely make one of them safe. Whoever wins that today. Anyway, we're going to jump in the Championship. I forgot to say the top goal scorer for the Premier League is still Haaland with 32 goals. Into the Championship, Burnley, they lost surprisingly against, relegation haunted Queen's Park Rangers, but actually Queen's Park Rangers pulled further away from the relegation zone. They're now 4 points clear with 2 games to go after winning 2-1, shockingly, at Burnley. Goals from Field and Martin after Field actually opened for QPR. Benson equalised and Martin got a goal right near the end for QPR. So, as I say, QPR now 4 points away from the relegation zone with 2 games left. You would say that possibly one of QPR's games is at home to Bristol City. You would say that probably they'll get at least a point there, and you'd have to say that will probably make them safe if they get a point even in the last 2 games. So I think QPR have done enough now to stay up. The 3 teams in the bottom, Reading, Blackpool and Wigan. Wigan and Blackpool, fair play to both of them because they both won at the weekend. Blackpool won away 1-0 at Birmingham to still give themselves a fighting chance of staying up with 2 games to go. And also, Reading lost actually. I was going to say Reading won, but Reading lost at Coventry 2-1, and that allowed Coventry to go into the playoffs. There was other wins for Bristol City winning 2-1 against Rotherham. That still means that Rotherham are not technically safe yet. They're still only 3 points above the relegation zone. Cardiff City were 1-0 down to Stoke. They drew 1-1 in the end. That was a game me and my boys went to watch as they live near there. And so they missed a penalty in that game as well, Cardiff, so that could have given them 2 crucial points. Cardiff is still only 3 points away from the relegation zone after that game. It might be enough, though, do you know what I mean, for some of these teams just to be 3 if Reading loses the last couple of games or only gets a point in the last couple of games. So, Hull won 1-0 against Watford. Norwich got smashed by Swansea City. Norwich have had a poor season by their standards. They're lying down in, I believe it's 12th or something at the moment, or 11th. So they lost 3-0 to Swansea. Swansea are on a bit of a good run at the moment. Preston drew 1-0 in the Lancashire derby with Blackburn, and Wigan still kept a faint hope of survival by winning 2-1 at home to Millwall. That dented Millwall's hopes of staying in the playoffs. So, so looking at the table for the Championship, Burnley are at the top. Burnley are obviously already promoted to the Premier League. They will go up as I think they are champions now. Oh, they're not technically champions because if they was to lose their last 3 games and Sheffield United to win their last 4 games, Sheffield United would pit them by 2 points. So next week it'll be probably decided whether Burnley will be champions, but Burnley are definitely up in the Prem. Sheffield United now, they're 7 points clear of Luton in third, and they've got a game in hand over them as well. So I would say Sheffield United are virtually guaranteed of the Premier League next season. And in the playoffs in the Championship, it's Luton, Middlesbrough, Coventry City and Millwall. Top scorer is still Chuba Akpom for Middlesbrough with 28 goals. So that's what went on in the Championship at the weekend. Jumping into League One. Plymouth, Ipswich and Sheffield Wednesday. As I said in the last week's episode, they're in a 3-way tussle to try and win the League One title. It's really hotting up at the moment. Plymouth got a obligatory win against relegation threatened Cambridge at home, winning 3-1. Sheffield Wednesday narrowly scraped past Exeter 2-1 at home as well to keep them in the hunt, but they still lie in third in the playoffs. And Ipswich Town had a convincing 3-0 win away at Peterborough United, which kept Ipswich in second. So literally between those top 3 teams, Plymouth are top with 93 points. You've got Ipswich in second with 91, and you've got Sheffield Wednesday in third with 90 points. So there's literally only 3 points in it, although Ipswich and Plymouth do have an extra game in hand on Sheffield Wednesday, which probably will help them to guarantee their automatic promotion places unless they really bodge it up. But they've started to hit form, both those teams. Sheffield Wednesday had a period of about 4 games where they only had a few draws and they weren't doing anything, so that's why they're down in third now. But all 3 of those teams have had great seasons. I would, if I was going to predict it, I would say that Ipswich will win the title. I'm going to go for Ipswich to win the title. But anyway, look through the results for the day. Barnsley won 2-0 against Oxford. That keeps them in the playoffs. Bolton won 1-0 against Shrewsbury. That keeps them in the playoffs as well. Charlton lost to Morecambe, who are still trying to escape a relegation. They're only in the relegation zone because they have a worse goal difference than Oxford United. But they had a great 3-2 win at Charlton. Cheltenham won 3-1 against Forest Green Rovers. That guarantees their safety for another season. They'll be playing League One football next season. Derby in their local derby, literally, against Burton Albion, the Midlands derby. They won 1-0 against Burton Albion. Fleetwood won 1-0 against MK Dons. As I said earlier, Peterborough lost 3-0 to Ipswich. Port Vale won 2-0 against Bristol Rovers after sacking their manager their manager Darryl Clark, who used to be the manager for Bristol Rovers. Portsmouth beat Accrington 1-0, and Lincoln City continue their good little run at the moment to win 2-0 convincingly away to Wycombe. And that should mention that Lincoln, because of their good form at the moment, they've risen about 6 places in the last couple of weeks. They're now up into 10th place, so well, congratulations to Lincoln. Anyway, so Lincoln are doing well, but yeah, so the top of the table, Plymouth at the top of League One, Ipswich in second. Playoffs is Sheffield Wednesday, Barnsley, Bolton, and Derby. And then down in the relegation zone in League One, we've got Morecambe, Cambridge United, Accrington Stanley, and Forest Green Rovers. Forest Green Rovers, as I said last week, they're already down into League Two for next season. And all the rest is still to play for, with 2 or 3 games left for each of those teams down the bottom end of the table. So, top scorer, still Johnson Clark Harris for Peterborough. He's got 25 goals. And then we're going to jump into League Two now. League Two, Leyton Orient went up, confirmed that they go up as champions today, yesterday even, winning 2-0 at home to Crewe. Sold out game. Moncur penalty and Kelman gave them the 2 goals that they needed to secure that championship winning moment. So they've won their first ever league title. Well, so congratulations to Leyton Orient. Northampton still lie in second at the weekend after trying to see what they get. Yeah, after beating Harrogate 3-1, so they lie in second. They're not automatically promoted yet because there's still 2 games to play, and they're only 5 points. Well, they're 5 points off the playoffs, but you would say that Northampton will be guaranteed promotion next week. Stevenage, who were in third, they were playing away at Mansfield, who were in the playoffs, just outside the playoffs even, and Mansfield won 1-0. Other results, Swindon Town absolutely smashed AFC Wimbledon 5-1. Doesn't do anything for Swindon, they can't make the playoffs anyway, but a great win for Swindon. Carlisle won 1-0 away at Barrow. Bradford City drew 2-2 with Gillingham, but there was a crazy attendance there, 18,500 at a League Two game. Just goes to show, if you don't rip off your fans, Bradford City don't rip off their fans. I think they charge £100 a season for season tickets, which is fantastic, even for adults. So that's to be commended. And look, they've got 18,500 in a League Two game. So more people could sit up and take note from that, especially teams who play at lower levels, who are based in really reasonably big cities or catchment areas, as Bradford is. So yeah, I'll give a shout out for them for that. Fantastic. Colchester moved further away from the relegation zone. In fact, there's no danger of them going down now. They're going to be in League Two next season. They're 10 points clear of the relegation zone after beating Sutton United 4-1. Newport continue their great run, winning 3-1 away at Doncaster Rovers. Hartlepool is still in trouble in the bottom 2 in League Two after losing 2-0 at home to Crawley Town. Stockport County again played against Rochdale at the weekend. Battle of the 2 Greater Manchester teams in the Lancashire area. 1-0 win to Stockport. That keeps them in the playoffs and literally only 1 point behind Stevenage in their bid to try and get automatic promotion out of League Two. Tranmere won 2-0 against Grimsby Town, and Salford won 3-2 against Walsall, which keeps Salford in the playoffs. So that's what's going on in League Two. Top of the table, Leyton Orient, as I said earlier, go up as champions they'll be playing League One football next season. Congratulations to them. Like I said, their first league title in their history. Northampton are in second. Stevenage are in third in that final promotion spot. And in the playoffs in League Two, you've got Stockport County, Carlisle United, Salford City, and Bradford City, who have got a really fantastic fan base for that level. Top goal scorer, Andy Cook. He got 2 more goals at the weekend for Bradford in their 2-2 draw with Gillingham, and he remains the top goal scorer still with 26 goals. So that's what's going on. That was the weekend's review. As I say, good luck to Brighton and Manchester United today. As I say, I'm going in this siding with Brighton to win 3-2. I think it will be a really good game with lots of goals in it. Famous last words. Hopefully that's the case. Whoever you support, have a great weekend, and I'm going to be doing another episode which is going to be covering all the fixtures that are going to be happening this week. There's a lot of Premier League games and obviously lower league games coming up as the week goes by. So I'll do that in an episode tomorrow. For now, have a great time. Bye for now.